part of the question that I'm going to set up. So I'm going to go back to the lines. The Army has increases for the next gen command and control on several areas. Applications are infrastructure, data, and transport. So in prior years, these lines were broken out by area into better understanding of how each one of these individual programs are going to be advanced or changed. This year, the budget request is bundled into 4 lines down from 41. So without having audits that we can go back and read and look at, these lines become, in a way, our way of doing the check and balance, working with you to get the best result, to not only complete mission, bring people home safely, but to protect taxpayers' dollars. So the compression, this makes it a huge challenge for us to do our job, because we're about the dollars and cents, right? So the other side of this, and I'm going to just say this loud and clear, I don't believe this is your intention, but it has an unintended consequence when you compress these activities to make it easier for the Army then to move funds without keeping Congress involved. So we might have a discussion about what you're going to do, but without the lines, we don't have the accountability for both of us on what you're going to do. So I know that these upgrades are necessary to maintain the effective and secure communications for the Army, but how are you going to work with us, especially not just the Congress, but the folks who are in charge of the dollars and cents on this to make sure missions accomplished, taxpayers are protected, how we are going to know how these funds are going to be executed and keep track of them. So, you know, we need to have a discussion about how we're going to get back to old school on this, unless you're going to tell me that the audit's on track and we're going to get one next year. Mr. Secretary.
Ranking Member, this is a question I would have answered completely differently last year. The nuance of the reply has been a painful lesson to learn as Secretary of the Army over the last year. We, the Army, over decades have created a bad reinforcing cycle where we've asked you to trust us. We have spent a lot of money in a way that didn't defend taxpayers' right for their dollar to be spent as safely as possible. We have had failed programs with not enough oversight, and we have failed the budget the entire time, which has naturally, I think, inclined all of you to say, okay, well, we need more specificity in the budget. We're going to go from what I understand to be 20 line items as of like the 80s, and now I think we're over 1,200 line items. And I think it's a very natural reaction to that. The problem has been it reinforces some of the worst traits of our purchasing system, because in each of those line items we get very narrowly locked into buying things, and particularly when it's tech related around data or moving information, we are purchasing things that are generally outdated by the day we purchase them, and then we have a very hard time adapting to the speed of the innovation cycle. And so the reason we are here, the United States Army has got to own a lot of responsibility for not doing an effective enough job being good custodians of dollars and providing transparency for your constitutionally mandated role. I think, are we going to pass the audit next year? If you had asked me 4 months ago, I would have said unequivocally no. The Army had been working with a provider whose materiality threshold was very low, meaning they saw materiality in everything, and what that practically meant for the Army is we had to do things like have depreciation schedules for every piece of equipment, or many pieces of equipment that are just impractical for an organization of our size with equipment all over the world. We have since created a new plan. We have pulled up from the Army doing its own audit. We are doing a Pentagon-level audit now, which gives me hope that it is possible that it could be done next year. I don't know what I would put the odds are, but I think we have a much stronger chance next year to provide the clarity that has been legislated to us than in previous years to the purpose of the consolidation. And I can appreciate the caution for us wanting to blend the lines. The purpose from our perspective for something like Next Gen C2 is the speed of innovation requires us to shift dollars between back-end systems like what Cisco offers to actually be the piping and the plumbing to get our information somewhere to a data pool to then have AI help us process it and get it back out to the warfighter. All of that is, I mean, we can look at any newspaper and see what's going on with OpenAI or Anthropic these days. The speed of these innovations doesn't allow us to stay as predetermined in where the dollar will go. And so what I'm hopeful to do with the committee is find a mechanism where you feel like you have the transparency you need. And I think the best way to do it is to show you the Vantage dashboard that we've built, which basically gives us a lot more visibility into where the dollars are going, and give your teams access so that they can run their own reports and they can hold us accountable to doing what we all have agreed those dollars should do without specifically requiring so many line items.
Well, I might agree with some of what you've said, but this needs to be a two-way conversation. Without the audit, if this is how we used to audit, then a conversation has to take place with our clerks and with us on what we need to see. I hear loud and clear that you know what you would like to do, and I might not disagree with all of it. I might not disagree with much of it. But we have ways in which we use those lines that you're probably not cognizant of. And so I think rather than just hand it to this committee, and I'll include the Senate in it too, the Senate committee, and just say, hey, this is how we're going to do it from now on when we don't have an audit, is not, it sets both of us up for friction and possible failure for what we both want to accomplish. I hope that makes sense to you. The other thing you mentioned about the audit, there were parameters and things that were supposed to happen within the audit. So I would like to see kind of what I'd like to see if they line up and match, or if you've changed things. And if things needed to be changed from the way the audit was first requested, then here again, I think Congress has to be included in that discussion, because we were the ones who wrote the rules for the audit. See where I'm getting at?
Yes, ma'am.
So I look forward to working with you on that.
And we'll follow up, ma'am. Thank you, Ranking Member.
Thank you. The full committee chairman, Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary and General, I invite you to comment on this as well after the Secretary's remarks, if it's appropriate and you choose to. Last few years, the Army's requested less than the minimum production rate of 36 platforms or sets for the Paladin program, kind of risking the production line stoppages, workforce layoffs. The fiscal year 2027 requests 0 out of Paladin procurement, despite having only awarded 518 of the original acquisition objectives of 689 sets. I guess what I'm trying to figure out, and perhaps you can enlighten me on, is number one, is this because of budget constraints, or are we moving on from the platform? Is it a decision to make a change there? Or, again, we don't know what might or might not be in